to be able to learn the game and I guess experience a little bit of who I am as a coach and uh, play at a pretty decent level, whether that be NCAA or overseas. But I think I've been very, very, very grateful and fortunate to learn the game from Roy Rana, who's coming on here in a couple hours. I don't know, as a young intern for Canada basketball with Jay Triano as a team manager, or like you said, having an opportunity to work in the G League with Scott Morrison, who's also going to be on this platform at some point in time, if not already with the main Red Claws. So being able to learn from all these guys have really helped me dive a little deeper with playing in the post and just understanding the game of basketball at another level. So I'm very fortunate. And for myself, I graduated from Cleveland State University, but I was a 6.5 post player, sometimes stepping out on the perimeter, sometimes playing on the block. So I think playing out of the post was near and dear to my heart. So I figured I'd talk about it today. So I know a lot of people, they usually find yourself in a scenario, whether that be, I don't know, a club team or a JUCO or college level or university level or even the NBA level. You find yourself in a scenario where you throw the ball inside and you're hoping that your forward makes the right move or the right decision. And I'm just really going to touch a little bit today on a couple options that you can do playing out of the post, right? So like in today's game, I guess you can say the modern day game, starting from the NBA, offenses are really geared around the perimeter. It's really kind of made for the guards, right? But there are still many teams or different areas where you can effectively utilize the post to somewhat make it hard for the opposing team. I want to minimize this, but nonetheless, so creating easy opportunities, you can easily do that in the post. And some of the benefits to creating some easy scoring opportunities in the post, you essentially find yourself where you force opposing coaches to play mixed, non-ideal lineups, whether that be, I don't know, you want to play a smaller lineup to try to double team the post. You want to play a bigger lineup, maybe playing a big that doesn't really play. So it kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in their plans. You typically, if you want, you can play through the post and induce a little bit of foul trouble. Sometimes the benefit could be creating a defensive rotation. So just really miscommunication in terms of what's going on the court because you're not really focused in on what are we going to do when this happens. And, some of the really good benefits are just developing a high percentage look, right? Whether that be a catch and shoot three, again, a foul line trip, layups, or even creating a long closeout to force the defense into some sort of rotation. This playing out of the post is a very, very effective thing, and it's a thing that's kind of dying down right now. If you really look at it, I don't have the numbers on me, and I don't really dive too deep into the numbers. But if you watch basketball, you listen to basketball, a lot of the offenses are pretty much split actions, ball screen actions. Very rarely are we throwing the ball into the post anymore. And I think 10 years ago, we probably were throwing the ball in a lot more when we had different guys playing in the game. But now the game has changed so much and people aren't really trying to throw it into the post. But you can really throw it into the post and have very good offense ran from the post, and that's something that I'll pretty much touch on today. So keys to strong post offenses, I just have 3 things down here. Effective floor balance and spacing, I think, is a huge, huge part to playing through the post. You got to really understand your team, the personnel, and really understand, okay, do I have a guy that's really good at finishing at the rim? Do I have a very good cutter? Do I have a non-shooter? Do I have a shooter? Like, just really understanding your personnel will kind of really help to place guys in certain positions to succeed, right? So I think your offense really has to highlight your players' strengths. And for myself, I've been very fortunate to have, I guess, put in the situation where I had a stretch four that's really good at stretching the floor. But what happens is I run a ball screen with him. You're hoping that they converge on the ball handler, leave him wide open, catch and shoot. And over time, teams start to switch. So now we're trying to roll him out, get the switch, and figure out what to do there. And this is why I've kind of really done a few things to help our team and our program be successful in the post. Another key for us is just utilizing simple actions that keep help defense honest, right? So you really want to take all the focus off the ball, or you want to at least reduce the focus off the ball, and really just try to make the other four guys somewhat of a primary threat, right? Sometimes when you're running a post action to get the ball into the post, once it touches the post, you really have to be quick and effective at what you're doing. And sometimes it's just about layering some of the stuff, or maybe having several options, just triggers like, boom, there's a cut, nothing there, this happens, and then that happens, or it's an uphill DHO. So we'll touch a little bit on that as we go along. And then I think the last key to strong post offenses, again, timing is very important, especially if you're going to run the four guys or the four other primary threats off the ball. You got to really use practice time to rep it. Whether that be 3-on-3, 3-on-0, 5-on-5, 5-on-0. I think really using your practice time to effectively drill your guys and get them to always work on some sort of game-like cuts, game-like shots, making reads, really trying to understand when the double team hits here, this is what's going to happen, right? And I think I do this a ton. I'm a very big guy on film. We watch film maybe 4 times a week as a team at MAC, and I always show our guys film as to, here's what's happening, here's what we're going to do, let's practice it, now we're going to watch ourselves, and here are open gaps that we can actually get away with. So for me, I think you've always got to show the film, and you got to really help the guys to visually see it other than just physically doing it. Okay, one of the things that I'm really big on is just figuring out how to score or where to score, right? So you have essentially 3 things that you can really put to the table when you're playing in the post. You got to figure out, do you have a dominant big man? Maybe you have a really good dominant big man like Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, LaMarcus Aldridge. All 3 of these guys were really good post scorers this year in the league. I think 25% of their total offense comes from playing in the post. And I think you have to really understand if you're going to try to score in the post, your post player has to be super elite at it. And right now, the game is kind of watered down. There's not that many big guys that really want to play in the post. Even Joel Embiid, some of his offense is coming from the 3-point line. He wants to do the shake and bake crossover to a Euro step, and but I'm just saying, you've got to really figure out how and where do you really want to score. And if you have a dominant big man, I think playing on the block is an effective way, and I'll show you some film to back it. But at the same time, you also want to surround that dominant big man. Maybe you do have some scorers, so maybe you don't have a very dominant big man. You may have a passing big man, or you might have somebody that's just average in the post, right? That person is capable of finding quality scorers for catch and shoot opportunities, right? So that could be, I gave an example of the Splash Brothers, maybe JJ Redick with Joel Embiid, Kyle Korver with the Lopez brothers, Jamal Murray with the Joker in Denver. So you really got to figure out where and what your team is made up of, and then now you can kind of figure out how you're going to play through the post. And then lastly, again, athletic slashers. We have a ton of them at my school, in my program, and what we do is we just try to find ways to kind of get them cut into the basket so that they can finish at a very high clip. And maybe if they're not cut into the basket, they're a capable shooter coming off for a mid-range. Again, I gave a couple examples there: D Wade, Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, all guys that are very good finishers, but they're also capable shooters, right? This dictates the best post mobility action for your team. And when I talk about post mobility, I'm just talking about your action off of the post, right? So anytime the ball hits the low post, what is your mobility? What is your movement? What's the trigger that everybody knows that they're going to in order for you guys to understand what's going on? So I'll touch first and foremost on the dominant bigs, right? So use of movement to occupy the help defense, or maybe space out shooters along the weak side perimeter, right? Many times when you have a dominant big, if you have some really good shooters on your team, you can space them out and allow that big to at least get to a one-on-one situation. Maybe you have non-shooters in the opposite block, so if the double team comes, maybe he's playing buddy ball. If the dominant big goes middle, he wraps underneath, or if the dominant big spins and goes baseline, he wraps over top of the charge circle. Space out weak side, right? 4 out, entry passer can be best shooter, no double team, one pass away. Simple as it gets, right? If I'm entering the ball and I'm the best shooter, just allows no double team from the top side, right? If I am a non-shooting guard, maybe we're into a 3-out action in the post where now we're just going to occupy the opposite low zone. And when I talk about the low zone, I'm talking about the dunker spot, just slightly below the backboard or below the block. Post screen in, right? When I say post screen in, I remember coaching in the G League against the Raptors 905, and Coach Stackhouse was the coach at the time. They ended up winning the G League that year. They had Eddie Tavares and a couple other really good forwards, and they would just run the 2 forwards and just literally turn 5, throw the ball into the post, and either Eddie Tavares was a 7'2" forward or center, and their other forward was a 6'11" or 6'10" forward. And literally, it was just a post screen, and they surrounded the floor with Brady Heslip and a couple other shooters. Person who punches the ball in, screens opposite for the other forward, catch, finish. And I'll show some of these clips as we go along. But the post screening is one that's really, really effective, especially when you're playing 2 forwards with 3 really good perimeter players. Utilizing 2 legit post threats could be an ATO option. Okay, so a little bit of here, like you can see the defense is really just spread out. You got basically 4 guys completely spread out on the opposite side of the floor, allowing Davis to go to work and get his easy 2 points. Again, Joel Embiid, here he is. You can see JJ Redick at the top who entered it. Doesn't allow anybody to be able to really dig in. And now everybody's got to kind of figure out what's happening before 2 points takes place, right? This could be an opportunity where we're essentially playing with 2 forwards. Really, you see 3 guys surrounding the perimeter. Again, Simmons isn't really a threat, but they post double, immediate weak side, kick, quick 3, right? Just really surrounding the floor with a bunch of shooters. Here you see Joker again, a very good passing forward. So he's going to command some sort of defensive help. A little bit of a bite on the double team there, not really, just a stunt. Easy kick, easy 3. And then here's the post screening that I was talking about. Again, sometimes when you're playing with 2 pretty decent forwards, you can really spread the floor out. There's 0 help on Brady up here at the top. And just that quick screen in. You can see the screen in right there for a shot, right? Again, same deal. Playing with 2 forwards, can't really help too much off of shooters. Screen in, quick finish. This is ran against us a ton of times, and it was very hard for us to guard it simply because we just didn't have the size to go up against it. And you don't really want to leave the shooters as they're setting the screen, so it made it very, very hard for us to guard. Right? Sometimes, uh, right? Finding scores. Right? So I remember I talked to you guys about possibly having another post player that's essentially a non-dominant big man, right? Maybe it's a passing big, maybe it's a just an average big in the post, right? Really just using the post as a passing hub rather than an isolation place for you to try to score, right? So a couple actions that you could run out of the post, a split action, which is very, very, very common right now in the NBA and right across the FIBA game, really just playing in the post, split action, guards coming shoulder to shoulder, and just really forcing the defense to have some sort of indecision between the two defenders. Right, either you can make the post entry or you can just become a paint threat. Right? There's a cross action that we'll show a little bit of multiple read and react options here, where the guards simply are just getting cuts. Maybe a big can cut, big can clean up the other guard. A stagger action. Stagger action again is a little bit more complex on the weak side, but it's one that I've learned from a former colleague of mine with the national team, actually, JD Jackson, who's a fellow Canadian, might be the best scorer at UBC history ever, coached over in France, and just really brought a little bit to the table when it came to entering the ball into the post and having a lot of post mobility on the weak side, right? So they used to run this stagger action with this team that he coached in France. Weak side ends up staggering, and they look for a catch and shoot, maybe some slips, quick layups, maybe a curl for a pop out three, and then obviously a wiper action. The NBA calls it a Ricky action, where it's just simply the opposite forward lifts, sets the screen, and then sets this flare comeback screen for the shooter, allowing him to be wide open. Hopefully, I'm not going too fast here, but we'll go through some film here just to reaffirm what I'm talking about. Right, so a lot of times you'll see this kind of split action here, where the two players are going shoulder to shoulder, and now just creates a little bit of indecision for the defense. Do I switch? Do I stay with mine? Not really sure, and little too late sometimes. Wide open threes start to happen, right? Same deal. You have a 45 cut on the opposite side, but you also have two guards coming shoulder to shoulder, and it's just really making a read at that point. Right? Again, another opportunity where the strong side has the split action happening. The defense is completely committed to the paint, and now that cut by Thompson sucks in the defense. And now the 45 skip is wide open for a catch and shoot three, right? So again, another opportunity where you're playing in the post, but you're not really looking to score from the post. You're just really a creator, right? Another shoulder to shoulder opportunity. Guard gets free, cuts right down to the rim, and then again another split action where the big slips and then makes an additional pass, where Draymond Green is really good at doing. Again, cross action, talked about it a little bit. Guards coming off of a back screen, and the big's going to come and get the second guard coming through to it, right? Very, very tough to guard, and it's just a few things that you can actually do while the ball is in the post, right? So I just really talked about taking a lot of the focus off of the big and really just trying to make the other four guys a very, very, very effective threats, right? So you see that back screen right there. The defense has to at least honor him touching the paint, and then now he gets the other guard coming off for a clean, open catch and shoot three. Again, another opportunity here. Weak side. Again, those cuts, guys really coming shoulder to shoulder, are really creating a little bit for the defense to have to adjust. Right, you can see numerous cuts, just really taking a little bit of the focus off of the ball, and putting some of the ownership on the defense to really understand and communicate and figure out what's going on. And sometimes what happens is a lot of guys are just really jumbled, and they don't really know what's going on, or they're so concerned about what's going on with the wings and the other big up top that it allows you to have a one-on-one opportunity, right? So just really focusing on trying to occupy the defense is very big, right? Here we go with the stagger action on the weak side, right? It has to be quick, it has to be effective, and he comes off for a quick catch and shoot mid-range. Another opportunity here where you go into the post. Now we get to a stagger right away. Nothing there, but we keep the action going. Catch and shoot three, right? There's so many times where we just talk about, well, let's not play through the post. And if we do play through the post, all he's going to do is catch and dribble uphill for a DHO. But I just really want to, I guess, drive this home that you don't necessarily have to play in the post for a score. You can actually use the low post as a passing hub, right? And I'm just trying to show as many clips as I possibly can. Here's a weak side over here. You see the two defenders. They're essentially pointing at each other, but there's a little bit of miscommunication here. And here comes a quick slip for an immediate two. Right? Same action. I'm fortunate that I got these clips from my fellow friend JD Jackson, but a lot of these actions he ran with his team in France, and they've been very, very successful. Right. Another action here is just a wiper action. Golden State does this a couple of times. They usually run this stuff. They usually ran this stuff in Atlanta with Coach Bud for Kyle Korver, passing it in, coming right back, wiper action. And then there's so many different layers that can take place, right? If you don't take it, you reject the wiper action. Maybe you use the wiper and you get a pick and roll out of it. Maybe there's nothing here on the wiper, so you curl it, and now you're getting the second guard, right? There's just different ways to really layer it, but you have to really rep it. You have to show film, and you've got to make a game like when you are repping it. One of the things, if you don't have the shooters, like if you really want to position your slashers or your scorers, your guys that are really good at the rim, a guy like in the background, Russell Westbrook or I don't know, John Wall, for all we know, you can really find ways to put these guys in a certain position to be successful. So really putting emphasis on catch on the runs, right? Or even getting to the paint, just making a hard cut so that you can get paint threats to force the defense to collapse, creating long closeouts, simple but effective, right? Easy reads for forwards. So I remember us having to do some switches. We would read a switch, ball goes inside, we punch it inside to our big, and immediately as he catches it, his first look is to his weak side, and now he's just reading the defense. He has the 45 kick, he has the 45 dive, and then secondly he has the score. Right, these are easy reads for our slashers, or I guess you should say our bigs, really finding out where they're looking to score. Right, and then it also forces most defenses to react a little late, often lose sight of their man. Right. One thing that I learned that I really took away from my experience at the main Red Clouds was using the 45 cut, especially in the post. When we talk about the 45 cut, if you spread the entire floor out with three guys and you have the one point guard who punched the ball inside, maybe you have your guy on the 45, as the ball touches his hand, he's 45 cutting right to the paint, then he's going to exit out, and now we sometimes run another 45 cut. That's been very, very, very effective for us. But the 45 cut is simply just exploiting 2 versus 1 on the weak side, especially versus teams that shrink the floor on the low man, or shrink the floor on your post man. Right. Sometimes the 45 cut, again, like I said, the cutter can fill back out to the corner, and then the corner guy lifts and does another 45 cut just to keep the defense guessing or keep the offense moving. And sometimes if the big can't score, last case scenario, nothing there. I don't have the score. He's taking 1 or 2 dribbles uphill for a DHO with the point guard, and now they're playing a 2-on-1 or maybe a 2-on-2 coming downhill on this DHO, kind of like a ball screen action. So we'll just I'll go into it and show you a little bit of what we've been able to do at Mac. Okay, so you can see we got the switch, right? So right now the defense is completely trying to figure out what's happening. So the defense immediately commits on the bounce, and here's our guy coming through the 45 for a cut, immediately for a finish, right? And by no means is our cutter not a shooter, but he's in the 45 spot. He's a very good finisher, so we just make sure we position the guys in a pretty decent place for them to actually force the defense to collapse. Again, here comes the bounce. Our guy's a little late, but he commits to his 45 cut. The right kick is maybe the corner, but it works out in this scenario for us. Again, another post entry. 45 wasn't necessarily on the three-point line, but he still makes his cut. He understands that this is what we've been practicing, so he gets on his cut, cuts it right to the charge circle. Defense, both guys somewhat commit, and as he's about to vacate, two guys are coming to him, and we get a baseline drive. Right? Again, another opportunity here. As soon as the catch happens, our guys just automatically know. 45 cut to the charge circle. Probably could have been a little harder. We make the 45 skip pass. And again, for our guys, we practice a lot of catch on the runs where as the ball's coming to you, you're just going to catch it, meet it, and continue back downhill, just especially for non-shooters at times. And here you go, another ball screen switch. You bring two guys, has to take care of it. You got the 45 cut. There's the skip, but the second guy usually is another 45 cut guy, depending on what your lineup is. And he meets the ball, getting downhill for an easy two. Right, just these are all great opportunities to put some of your cutters or your guys that aren't great three-point shooters in positions to be successful, right? And it just that simple cut right there by the guy from the 45 forced two guys to guard him, which gives us a split second to catch and shoot a three. It's been very effective for us in the last 2 years, and I don't see us going away from it anytime soon, but that's been things for us that have been really, really, really good. So final thoughts. I know I've been going for a little bit now, but highlight your play style, right? You got to highlight your play style. Always put your players in a position to be somewhat successful. And you just got to know your team. You got to know your personnel. So they've got to be comfortable, but you also got to understand, like, all right, you know what? If we have a switch and we're looking into the post, this is exactly what we're going to, but you got to position guys and they've got to be able to rep it and understand it. Efficiency trumps complexity. Again, simple cuts often create better looks than multiple actions, right? The simplest actions sometimes are probably the easiest actions. Sometimes we complicate the game so much and we try to do all these wonderful actions, but sometimes just the simple, efficient action makes it very, very easy for your team and for your entire program. And then again, practice. For me, we drill so much of our stuff with our guys over and over again to the point where they're just like, we got it. But I think that muscle memory and spacing is super, super key. You've really got to show a ton of film. You really got to understand if you watch it visually and you do it physically, then the two can mesh together and it can be really like a second nature thing when you're on the court. And then again, motions should be trained so that it becomes intuitive. Like our guys now, at least with the 45 cut, it's just part of something that we do. They don't think, it just balls in the post. I'm on the 45, I'm out. And then the second guy lifts, catches, or he's 45 cutting again. So I do really stand by this, and playing through the post is something that's is a dying thing, just like the mid-range jumper. But I do think that there are areas where you can play through the post and still get effective baskets.
Well, we definitely got a few questions for you here, Coach, if you got time to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the first one I want to address here. So you showed the last post stuff with the 45 cutter. The question that came in was a lot of your post players are like half pivoting on that catch. Um, are they doing that just on how they're played, or are you asking them to look over their shoulder or open the window so that they can see the 45 cut, or how are you teaching that cut and the post player? Like, are they looking first for the cut and then their own move, or are they looking for their own move then looking for the cut?
Yeah, we teach our guys to basically catch and look immediately over their shoulder just to see what's going on the 45. The 45 happens immediately on the catch, simply because we know at times teams can throw a double team right away, and if the double team comes from the midline, then the 45 guy is going to be wide open. As soon as you catch it, you just touch pass it, immediate to, or you 45 kick it. So we do teach our guys to really look over the shoulder, unless it's a switch where our guy rolled out the smaller guard and he had 1 or 2 feet into the paint. If you're catching it outside the paint, you have to immediately look over your shoulder and see the 45.
Okay, so it's basically us look then a me look on that. If you were catching a deep seals, it's try to score it, I assume, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So that was a couple of the questions. Just to add on that, if the 45 cutter doesn't cut it, do you have him exit out the weak side baseline, or does he just fill open spots?
Yeah,
So if
so
he,
the 45 cut, if he does not catch it, he gets to
yeah,
the charge circle, he will exit out back to the weak side corner. The weak side corner lifts to the 45, and now he's the new 45 cut. So it's almost like a cycle on
okay,
the weak side.
perfect. Next question here that was put in a little bit earlier is how do you teach sealing the post? Do you have key points for your guys, even if they're undersized, how to get that position in the post?
We don't like, the honest truth is we don't really do too much seals. That's just not something we do. Our program is really a program of a ball screen program. But if we do get an opportunity where we do have a big that's going to seal, then we really just kind of get him stepping in his whatever side the big is, or I guess he's being fronted on. He's going to step his leg in between the two legs of the defender, put his forearm into his back, and then really hold the seal to try to create that defender to be higher than he is.
Okay, perfect. Question right off the start. The coach has a 6'7" that doesn't love contact. Is there anything that you learned through playing or coaching to make your guys go through contact better?
Oh, yeah. There's a ton of drills, and at a lower level, I think some of the drills you've got to really do is just kind of get the bags out and really get the kid going through the bag, right? You just got to make the environment and practice a tough one where they just get used to the contact. They get used to the contact, so now it becomes intuitive when you're actually in a game that you're going to get a certain kind of contact. But I think it all starts in practice. I think drills have to be made for some of those guys that don't really like the contact, but they have to go through on a day-to-day basis, and you just hammer away at that.
Okay, perfect. Question on okay, the ball goes into the post. You got a split post on the weak side, up on the opposite 45 or in the middle. When they make their cut, the original guy that threw the ball into the post, does he hold his spacing while the split cut happens, or does he need to move after that happens?
Yeah, so we'll do a couple things, right? And it just sometimes it's scout based, but like the base, like just the base of what we do is the point guard will hold whoever is whoever the guys that enters the ball, he usually holds. And what we'll do is we'll space. Let's just say the split action's happening at the top, or like the middle of the floor, the midline, and the weak side slot. Uh, those two guys will play split, and now it's on to the if you don't have anything between those two guys and you have nothing on the 45, you're going uphill DHO. That's like the last resort that we want for our big. It gives him that out, if you will.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. If you were putting a guard in a post, or even let's just say an undersized post, are you giving them the same principles in terms of like looking over the shoulder, or are you putting different principles in play if they're undersized?
Yeah, for that one's interesting because if we let's say we had a 6'6" forward or guard that found his way into a switch post up. More than likely, we're just throwing it inside. He's going to look shoulder, but 9 times out of 10, we're using our guards to score as much as possible when they get to the low post. So sometimes we do use a hold scenario for our guys, and the guys know that, but very rarely have we been able to do that in the last 3 years, simply because we haven't been able to have a 6'6" wing just yet or a 6'7" wing just yet. So we haven't really ran into that scenario, but being able to post a bigger guard on a smaller guard, it's always been a great tool to just kind of punch it inside, get everybody to hold, and allow him to work out, because usually those guys are pure scorers.
Okay, and just to add on that question, if your post player was undersized, would you have them face up fully on a bigger post if they're catching off the block, or would you still want them kind of T post position?
Sorry, I missed that.
If your post player was smaller, like if you're playing with an undersized post, would you want them to straight face up or T post still, and then peek over the shoulder?
Yeah, for the most part, for our undersized post, we'll get them to somewhat face up and make the read at the same time. So they're going to face up, they're going to check, see the 45, but they're also looking to possibly jab and crossover step to get to the paint at the same time. So at that point, it's just a advantage for us because we've got the smaller undersized post going against a bigger post.
Okay, great. A few more coming in here. Transition, how do you run your transition? Is your post presence dictated on the matchups, or are you guys just running your transition then into your offense?
So for our transition, we want our guys to almost 10 times out of 10, we want our big to sprint down right down the middle of the floor and exit weak side. That's just what we do. And sometimes you can seal, sometimes um, you can set a drag. But for the most part, if you're the first big, you're literally, if you don't get it immediately at the free throw line, you're probably more than likely exiting onto the weak side dunker. And then we'll just start to play from there.
Okay. More theoretical questions here. So a team that has two good bigs, dominant bigs, but then a weaker backup, would you change the offense and go 4 out when the backup comes in, or would you stay with what you run, whether it's a 3 out, 2 in type of offense?
Oh, well, if it's a weaker forward, I'm more than likely going to position him so that, like, throughout practices, when we get to a scenario where uh, we're going to enter into the post, he's probably in a situation where he's the 45 cut that potentially has an opportunity to catch it and finish it. He's probably not a guy that's going to set a ball screen. He's just playing in the low zone, playing in the corners, looking for his opportunity to be a cutter. And again, that guy might not play that often, but as a utility forward, he's definitely a plus on the glass. He's definitely a plus at cutting, and he's definitely a plus probably finishing around the basket.
Okay. Great. We'll just go a couple more here, if you're good.
Yeah, of course.
Developing post players, do you favor one-on-one scrimmaging on the block, or do you favor teaching them throughout the offense so that they understand their spacing?
I'm a big advocate of teaching first and then implementing the one-on-one scenarios. So for me, I'm just really big on just kind of getting guys to go 1-on-0, figure out a little bit of what they're doing offensively, understand, all right, well, you have your drop step, make a read based off of coach, what he's doing with the bag, and then we'll implement a little bit of that one-on-one. So here we've built a progression. You've gone to your jump hook, you've gone to your drop step, you've gone to your face up. Now we're going to throw the ball into you one-on-one, and now you just got to make your read based off of what the defense is doing.
Okay. And then carry on to that question. What moves would you teach post players? Like move A, B, C, like what are the go-to moves that you need to teach your guys in the block, whether it's post or guards?
For myself, I've been a very big advocate of the jump hook. So I've been a big believer that the jump hook going to the middle of the floor with your strong hand is always a good one. That's virtually unstoppable if you understand how to really do it. I'm very big on just making the counter, so you have to have a counter to any go-to move that you have. So for me, the counter to your jump hook is your drop step. So I'm very big on the jump hook, the counter to the drop step, and then lastly, I mean, for myself, I've been an undersized forward in different areas of my playing career. So I've been very good at just facing up and just figuring out what the defense is giving me. If they're giving me the shot, take the shot. If they're pressed up, crossover step to the middle, or maybe crossover step to the baseline. Just different ways of reading the defense.
That's great. Coach, do you have your contact information on one of those slides? A bunch of people are asking, are the videos linked into your slideshow if they do request it later?
Yeah, the videos are linked into the slides. I did not leave any contact information, but I mean, for myself, you can always connect with me through my work email. I can just verbally say it right now.
Yep.
TATHAP, so minus the M, at mcmaster.ca. Again, that's TATHAP, the numeral 1 at mcmaster.ca.
Okay, so Coach, any of the emails that we get, we will share your email as long as you're okay with that.
Yeah, no, obviously that's okay.
Yeah. So the questions about it, I think that's great, Coach, because I think you brought up so many great points about how efficient it can be playing out of the post, even if that's not where you're scoring from, to run your offense. So I think this is something that you can use from youth level all the way up to post-secondary level, and it doesn't something that players frown on, but once they start playing out of that area, I think they realize how much it opens up the game. So a really great job by you showing everyone about that.
Thanks. I'm hopeful everybody could have got something from it.
I'm sure they did. Coach, I'm going to leave you with the last word here, and then we'll sign off. And once again, I want to thank you from Basketball Immersion and from Golden Ticket Sports for sharing today. It's been awesome, and happy to have you. So I'll let you finish it out here, Coach.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. This is a wonderful platform to be able to speak and just be able to just share a little bit of what you're doing and even to gain some knowledge, right? I mean, in the time that we're going through right now in this world, not being able to get out and actually go see a clinic and be able to just jump on the laptop and see different panelists speak, it's a wonderful thing, and it just shows to the power of the internet. So definitely very fortunate. I'm grateful for anybody that came out today and listened to me talk a little bit about playing through the post. Hopefully you were able to get a little bit from it, and feel free to reach out anytime you want.